Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Ranking the Retros Roundtable, where we are looking at, for this, I guess you can call it season, whatever you want to call it. We're taking a look at all the NES games and ranking them against each other. Right now, we're pretty much just focusing on the black box games just to get a baseline. So, after about 10 episodes, when we rank all 30 black box games, then we get on to the really good stuff. And then I think the discussions are really going to heat up. This week, well, I might as well introduce ourselves first. I am Reaper slash Wayne, and I am still sick to my stomach and losing sleep over where we rank Donkey Kong Jr.
You really need to let that go, dude.
It's not happening, at least not for the next couple weeks or months, or until I'm satisfied with what goes below it.
I feel like
But
years would be appropriate at
yeah.
this point for as often as you've been talking about it.
Oh, and I will keep talking about it. If you missed it, it's episode 2. We talked about Donkey Kong Jr., and I was in the minority there, and I'm not happy about it. If you guys would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is Jason. I also am on the team of Donkey Kong Jr. Sucked. So we'll see if that continues today with Donkey Kong Jr. Math.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's up, everybody? It's Jers or Jerry.
The last 2 episodes, we have a question for you guys. What is your favorite console or console generation? Jerry, we will start with you.
PlayStation 2.
You're the quiet one. Really?
Yeah. Primarily, we spent a lot of time playing Madden during that time.
Yeah, we did.
And how could I not? SmackDown versus Raw, or SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. Come on. But there was Burnout Revenge. Another great game. It's just, yeah. Primarily for me, the sports games, I just really, really liked the PS2 for that.
I get it. It's a solid choice, that's for sure. There's a reason why it's one of the most highest selling consoles ever, or something like that.
Is it the highest? I'm not sure
It
if
might
it's
be
the
the highest
highest,
now, but it's up there, and
Yeah.
there's a reason for it. Jason, what about you?
Yeah, so I initially started on NES and I worked my way up to the OG PlayStation, and then after that I became PC gamer. So I won't be in the PS2 realm or 3 or 4 or even Xboxes. Maybe you guys are, and obviously Jerry is. But for me, honestly, I feel like the biggest impact that was left on me from console was Sega. Uh, I don't know. It just had, the graphics and the sounds. You think of Altered Beast was one of the games I enjoyed, and Kid Icarus. Uh, there was just, I don't know, there was something about Sega that holds a special place. Uh,
Sure, it wasn't Kid Chameleon because Kid Icarus was Nintendo.
or yes, yeah,
Okay,
Kid
I
Chameleon.
was a
That's
little
yeah,
confused there.
yeah.
Yeah, same thing, Kid something or other. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish I remember where my Genesis was that I coincidentally bought off Jerry. It just like disappeared. I have no idea where it went. No idea, and it
Yeah,
upsets me.
and obviously, Sega ended up having NBA Jam was on there. I think that was the first time I played it was on the Mega Drive.
Nice, that's a solid game too.
And I just want to say that
sure.
all these years later, I regret selling that Sega to you. But, whatever.
That's not cool.
Well, I'm just saying, with the looking back on it, I kind of wish I would have kept it, but it was a different mindset back then.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm not playing this anymore. It can go away. I don't need it.
All right, well, I guess it's my turn. It's interesting that we all have different thoughts of our favorite consoles because I would go with the Super Nintendo. Not necessarily because it has like Mario World, which is a fantastic game and all, but I'm a big fan of RPGs, and I love, love, love those RPGs on that system. Whether it be Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 6/3, you
Yeah,
had
I could see that
Secret of
being.
Mana, like
Yeah.
so many good games. And then when you start getting into the fan translated ones that never came out in the US, like Dragon Quest V, oh, I could spend hours playing those games and not even care. So yeah, that's where Right, that was a good start to the podcast. So, the three games that we will be talking about today will be Pinball, Duck Hunt, and Donkey Kong Jr. Math.
Dun dun dun.
Dun 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 indeed. We are going to start with Pinball. I feel like it's a good one to start with. It was released in October of 85 in the US. It's one of the earliest pinball games I can remember playing, if not the earliest that I've ever touched. I've never played this game growing up. I wish I did because I would have spent many hours playing this game had I known about its existence. I didn't really get into virtual pinball until like some of the PC games later on, like Pinball Fantasies, Pinball Illusions, Epic Pinball, that kind of thing. That's where I started really getting into pinball. I'm a huge pinball buff in general. Anytime I go to any kind of like pizza parlor or something and there's a pinball table, I just want to play it. Like, I think the last pinball game, like actual pinball game I played was a Walking Dead table, and it needed some repairs. The rubber on one of the flippers was like peeling off for dry rot. The one flipper kept sticking, but I still enjoyed it because I am a pinball fan.
Dude, pinball's amazing. Every time I go to Scott's house, we go to the pinball museum and we just play like hundreds of them
Oh,
for like hours.
nice.
Well, I guess Wayne's
It's
booking a
so
trip to
fun.
Florida now.
Yes.
Oh yeah. But
Wayne would never go to Florida, but that would be a cool thing. We should do that. That'd be fun. do it.
I'd spend days there, like easily. But pinball on NES, it's simplistic, obviously, because it's an early game, but I still had so much fun playing this game.
And hey,
It-
it even has Mario in it.
It
Yeah.
does have, it
Which-
does. Like,
They
Yeah.
creep him into everything that they can.
Yeah.
before getting into that, let's just say, let me give you a quick overview of the game itself. There's two screens, so it's not like a constant scrolling. They didn't really know how to do that for the most part back then, it seemed. But it's fine. It works well. It's not like there's a huge pause in between going from one screen to the other. It's kind of hard to get the ball back to the top, though, I've noticed. If you let that ball fall down to the bottom screen, you're kind of screwed. At least I felt like I always was.
Yeah, I only got it maybe twice where I at least saw the second floor or whatever you
Yeah.
want to call that, but it I was only able to see it for like 2 seconds because the ball rolled right back down. I couldn't get all the way back up to the top again once it fell down to that first.
But
Is
the
it-
second half is really the one you want to be at, because that's the one that gets you to the Mario level, plus has the exit path.
The Mario mini games actually starts in the lower level. It's just once you get out of the mini game, it pops you back in the top. But
Yeah.
the top part's where you're getting all your points. You have the 1,000-point lane on the top. You have the two 500-point lanes. You have that little ramp. You have that little slot machine, which I hit that the very first time I played this. No idea how I did it. I don't know if it's just random, if I just got lucky. No idea. But like I heard the can dance and I'm like, all right, I think I did something good. There's something happening on my screen.
well,
But back
good
back
job.
to Mario, I will say that mini game is kind of frustrating. I never really was able to figure out how to release the princess, and it's kind of weird too, because like if that ball gets to that bottom area, you're not getting it out. There's no way.
you're not.
Mm-mm.
I've gotten it out
Well,
before though. It has to have come down at a pretty good speed to bounce like
Oh, okay.
underneath like the pad, and then you can get it to come out.
And I was always thought that it was a little misleading where the exit signs were because it's above the lanes where it actually leaves the area.
Yeah.
But I did see parts of the floor start breaking. I'm like, all right, I'm making progress, and then they just reset for some reason. So I'm not sure if there's actually a pattern that you need to hit in order to hit all those numbers in order to release her.
It-
But I've never been able to do that.
I'm just looking at the manual again. It's saying that, you move Mario left right to rebound the balls that come down, and then you have that lady that's walking on the top. She'll pass over the bingo lamp, and the color lamp changes, and when all lamps in a column are the same color, the section of the floor the lady's walking on directly above will break off. And
Okay.
if the lamps all become the same color again, and the gap in the floor gets too big for her to jump over, she'll fall. And you need to position Mario underneath her to catch her.
So it's all a timing based thing. It's not just smack the ball as many times as you can to rack up
Right.
points.
The idea, if you're trying to get the princess, is those flooring pieces have to get to the same color, and then that will fall. And at some point, it'll be too big of a gap, and she can't make it, so she falls, and then you have to catch her.
Okay. Has anybody actually ever done that?
I want to say I've recall getting that far. Not in this last playthroughs that I've been doing. I did not. But
I did
Yeah, I
not.
don't think I even
pretty
got
sure
close.
I remember as
to
a
be
kid
honest.
I got there. Because I used to play this game a lot.
I can tell you I didn't. I wasn't able to.
But yeah, this is one of those games. Like I was playing it for like the good hour before we started recording this because I'm like, I got some time to kill. I'm popping up Pinball. It's just one of those addicting games that
Yeah.
it's like, all right, one more shot. Even as frustrating as it is when the ball gets to the bottom, just drains out the out lanes because you can't be quick enough in order to bring up the bumpers to get them to protect it.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare that I ever had the ball just drain right down the center. Usually it went right around the outsides, which I know of many real tables that do that, and they're always infuriating. But that's the fun about pinball is just like, all right, one more ball. This is gonna be my good ball.
Yeah.
Which
You know?
mode did you guys choose to play most of the time?
The first was it A? Is it?
So A is the slower, yeah, and
Mhm.
B is the faster.
I did do a little bit of B just to see what
I
it was
only
like.
play
And
B because A is too slow for me.
I did
Just-
okay on A. I did pretty well on B as well, though. Both of them are pretty much identical. It's just as you said, the speed kicks up a little bit.
Yeah, it's like the ball has a bit more inertia.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean I primarily stayed on A. I did check out B, but I stayed with A. I'm really bummed that I did not have this game as a kid. I would have played the heck out of this.
Same. Like
It was so
really
fun to
would've.
have.
And
Simple game,
I
pop
know
it
it's-
in, play.
yeah, and I know it's like I know that it was made, early on, especially in the life of the NES and all, but like for the age of the game, I felt like the ball was, all things considered, like pretty responsive. I mean,
Yes.
it was surprising to me how well I felt that the ball behaved when trying to like compare it to a real table, which isn't easy to do anyway, but I was actually really surprised how good it felt to me in terms of like, yeah, this feels like pinball. It didn't feel clunky, I guess.
Yeah, it didn't have some of that weird hit, like, well, call it collision detection or hit detection, which it wasn't then, but
yeah, I've played
fairly precise.
many pinball games where you hit the ball and it goes off in an angle that you're not expecting. Like you can't make any accurate shots. This is not the case. The physics in this game are actually superb.
Mm-hmm.
For an early NES game, I was actually really impressed with the physics myself. Being that I've played many digital pinball games, I was blown away. I really was.
Yeah, it was surprising in a good way.
As you said, I really do wish I owned this one as a kid. I never did. I actually managed to get a box copy of this a couple years ago for dirt cheap. And the funny thing is, in the inside of it, someone wrote inside the manual. I have it written down here. 314,760 on 1/24/02.
Wow.
Huh.
So about 20 years, a little over 20 years ago, someone hit over 300,000 points. And I tried to hit that. The closest I got was about 140,000.
Yeah, I got to like 130,000.
I was getting so mad. It's like,
And
how did you get so high?
I just want to go back and keep playing it. I was playing it before we started recording too.
Are you guys a proponent of the old hold the ball trick and then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, you
That's a
wait for the
staple in
best shot.
pinball.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wait
Sure.
for that good shot. You make sure it's lined up perfectly, and then you let that ball fly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool to have a box copy. If you're out there and you are somehow listening to it and you recognize that score, please comment on this. I want to know who hit that
Yeah.
and how you did it. That's all I personally have to say about pinball. I don't know if you guys have anything
I will
else to
say
mention
one
about it.
thing. When I booted it up and I heard the music, I was like, I heard this music like every day of my life. Right next to Super
Childhood.
Mario Brothers and a couple other ones. And
I
yeah,
still think Excite Bike is more iconic though.
well, of course, I feel like that has had a broader reach than, plain old pinball, but
Hmm.
I feel like for those who are pinball aficionados, they like myself, we had a pinball machine physically in the house, so I had access to that a lot of the times. And popping this in and heard that music for this podcast, I was thinking to myself, yeah, I remember, so remember, because I had kind of forgot what it was, and then immediately it came back. I was like, yep, I remember.
Random note that I'm just looking at the box art for this game. It's kind of weird how they put on the front cover Mario holding the, I don't even know what to call that. It's not a paddle. It's like the thing from Arkanoid. So it's almost kind of misleading with the box art. Like they probably should just put like 2 flippers in the
I'm
ball.
trying to pull it up right now. That little metal bar reminds me of the ones in Mario that float up and down that you have
Hmm.
to jump
Oh, yeah.
onto. That's what that looks exactly like, just a different color.
Yeah, I was just looking at the cover. I'm like, this is kind of a weird thing. I need to say something about this.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't ring pinball, right? It
Right.
rings brick breaker or something.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the
Breakout.
back, then
Breakout.
yeah,
It
Breakout,
reminds me
yeah.
of Breakout as we're talking through it. I'm like, that would, yeah, it looks like freaking Breakout to me.
yeah, if you look at the back of the box, it's clear it's a pinball game, but it's just weird that they put that right on the front. You think they would have advertised that a little bit better, but it's
Yeah.
pinball. It's called
Well,
pinball.
It's got a guy that looks like Mario, so it's like, I gotta get that, right? I mean, it's
Right.
Mario, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Even
gotta
pinball
mark
has
it.
to have Mario in it.
You gotta have Mario in them, regardless. I mean, I feel like half the games we've talked about so far, I have Mario in them.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking right at one.
I mean, Super Mario
Yeah,
Brothers had
literally.
it.
This will be the 7th game we've
one-
reviewed. This will be the 4th game we've talked
Yeah.
about with Mario in it,
Yep.
in one way or another.
I'm sure that's that'll all disappear once Black Box is gone.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but we'll
for
get there.
sure.
We'll get there. So, where are you guys thinking with this one? I have an idea where I want to put it.
For me, I would actually put this. I would put this above Wrecking Crew, between Excite Bike and
Oh yes,
Wrecking Crew. I would put
you
it
don't
at
even have to
number
ask
3.
me. I'm with Jerry on this.
Personally, I think I'd put it above Excite Bike.
Oh, get out of here!
No, I cannot do that.
No.
There's no way.
No.
Let me explain
Oh
myself
my
here.
gosh, are you serious, Mr. Hot Take over here?
Comes the explainer.
Go ahead, come on, enlighten us
Excite
with
Bike-
your mindset, your thought
They're all
process,
good.
please.
They're all good games, whether it be Excite Bike or Pinball. They're fantastic games. But me personally, Excite Bike, you play it a couple times, unless you have a friend that it's got 5 courses.
Wayne,
Once you're done with them,
it's
like
too,
you play the game for 20 minutes.
Ah,
you're
yeah,
done.
but you want
Wayne.
to do like tricks and wheelies and stuff.
Wayne,
It's
it's
true, it's
2
true, but-
levels of a table in pinball, bro.
Yes, but it's the same thing where you have a score and you want to keep beating that score.
You could do the
I
same
know
in
I'm not
Excite
going to win
Bike.
this. I'm not going to win this. I'm understanding this. But I want to argue my point that I just felt like pinball has more to it, more lasting appeal. They're both fantastic games. I will allow it to go underneath Excite Bike in between Wrecking Crew and Excite Bike. I am fine
You
with
heard
that.
it. He's allowing it.
Yeah, what
Exactly.
does that even mean? Do you have the ability to like veto the majority in any of these situations?
Only in very extreme courses.
What? It's the
But
first
no,
time hearing you have veto power.
It's going to be incredibly rare that I ever veto a vote. I hope I never
Dude,
have
you even
to.
try to veto a vote, there's gonna be a fight.
But no, I just personally think that pinball is better than Excite Bike. However, they're both fantastic games. I can't deny that. So there we go. Pinball number 3. How's that?
Just closing thoughts on that. Like I said, I was really surprised overall with the game itself, and I'm gonna enjoy it now, but I really just am very bummed I did not have this as a kid, and nobody else that I knew that had a Nintendo had this either. So I never had any exposure to this one until now, which really just disappoints me. But I'll get over it, unlike you with Donkey Kong Jr.'s ranking.
I knew it was coming back to that. So there you have it. Pinball is currently sitting between Excitebike and Wrecking Crew, which is number 3 on our list. Any final thoughts on Pinball? All right, moving on. Next up, I can't believe we had to play this and now we have to talk about it because I didn't even know it was a game until I did this sheet. Donkey Kong Jr. Math, released in October of 1985 in the US. Where do we even start with this one?
But
Well,
why?
I just want to.
Why?
I need to just. I just need to have a conversation like with you, Wayne.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been friends a long time.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. And you always come up with these things, and for some reason it involves me having to play crap like this. And I don't get it. And I have to say that this, out of all of the garbage that you have had me play for, hey, I want to do a video and I need help and this game kind of sucks, but maybe you'll like it, and I always end up hating it usually. I have never had such a feeling of anger towards you for such a ridiculous reason. And that might sound overly dramatic, but I'm still mad at you because you came up with this idea for this podcast, and it's going to give us a great experience to check out all these games and have discussions. And I'm angry at you. You know why I'm angry? I beat Donkey Kong Jr. Math. What are we even doing
Are you sure
here?
you wanted to admit that?
No,
I
I'm
mean,
angry.
I have to.
Can you hear my voice raising? I am upset
Hold on.
that I wasted any time at all on this.
How do you think I feel that I had to play it multiple times because the first recording didn't go through? So I had to play it for about another hour.
Well, that's user error, right, Jason? I think we can agree on that.
But yes, I, as well, completed Mode A, I completed
I'm
Mode B,
staying out of this.
and I completed parts of Calculate.
Yeah.
So for those that are wondering, Donkey Kong Jr. Math, if you take the fun parts of Donkey Kong Jr. and suck all that away, you get Donkey Kong Jr. Math. You are given, for Mode A and Mode B, you are given vines. There's, 3 vines on each side, so 6 total vines. On each vine is 3 numbers that appear at random. Underneath that are platforms with different multiplication symbols. So plus, minus, multiply, and divide. You are given a number by DK Senior, and what Junior has to do is climb these vines and do math to hit that number. The only difference between Mode A and Mode B is Mode B, you start with a number, there are higher numbers, and you can possibly get negatives that you have to reach. The thing is with the game, Mode A and Mode B, there's 5 rounds. There's always another Donkey Kong Jr. on the other side. That's for second player. If there's no 2-player, he just sits there doing absolutely nothing.
Yep.
To represent the kid in school who did absolutely nothing.
The kid who copied off of somebody else.
It's
So-
no wonder Donkey Kong looks pissed up there.
So your goal is literally to do math equations and slowly whittle down numbers if you go over it until you reach that number 5 times. And then the game's like, all right, you're done. Let's kick you back to the main menu. It's one of the most boring things I've ever done in my life
I mean, I'm sitting there going
for
like,
a single player experience.
why am I having to do math while I'm sitting here playing a Nintendo game? Nothing about it seemed right at all.
I can't even imagine 2 friends. Hey, you have homework to do? Yeah, let's play Donkey Kong Jr. Math. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine, like, when we were in school? Like, we come home.
No, No,
We'd play video games.
I'm not even gonna let you
would pick
finish.
up the
No.
second controller. I'd pick up the first controller, and we'd battle each other with freaking math equations.
Well, first of all, I
That sounds like a
wouldn't
jolly
have
old
done
time.
that anyway because you were grade a straight A principles list, so there was no way I would ever have played this with you. Because
I would have helped you with that. Maybe that would have made you Dean's List.
And math was not my strong suit, and I didn't even own
Same.
this. I didn't even see this till now.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I was doing a little bit of research on this, which was painful too. Just because any time I devoted to this made me unreasonably upset. So, Wayne, just be aware, I'm going to be up carrying a little bit of resentment towards you for a little while, just like you have a problem
Since that
with Donkey
comment.
Kong Jr.'s ranking. I'm going to work that in everywhere that I can. But anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but was this not intended to eventually be the start of an NES education series? And that this was only the first game in that series because it sold so poorly?
I don't personally know, but it sounds like that could be the thing. That could be the truth. Because I think on the front of it did say like learning or something like that.
Yeah, it had a education series moniker on the bottom left.
Education series. That's what I was going for. But yeah, it's
if I read the correct information, this basically killed that idea right after because this,
yeah, it was the only game that ever had that moniker.
Yeah, which it sounds to me like their intent was to continue on with these kind of games, but this just didn't do anything. And just on that,
right.
on it, like going back to like Jason, one of your complaints about Donkey Kong Jr., it's like the same thing with this too. It's clunky, and then on the one spot, I went down to try to drop down to one of the little the tree platform things there at the bottom, and I'm like off of one of the vines, and it looked like I was lined up, and I would die. It was like I had to go over to the next vine over, even though to me it looked like it would have been fine. I can't tell you how many times I died just like going down, like trying to jump and barely miss. Like the mechanics aren't any better in this.
No, they're not.
From Donkey Kong
they
Jr.
took that game and just morphed it into this.
the funny thing is you can't really even die in this game. You just fall and start back at the left side of the screen or right if you're 2-player.
Yeah, the number that you had, it doesn't even reset your, like, whatever you had, if I remember right. Even like if let's say you had a 9 already up there and you fell down, you didn't lose that 9 when it started you over. You just continued on.
Right.
The only thing I'll say about this is that at least they kept the walking sound effect in the game.
Yeah, that is the one good thing about this game. Have you done the calculate mode at all?
Oh my gosh.
See, that's where I could see, I can understand where the game was going for educational value. If you go to the calculate, it's like doing actual math problems. I can understand this. No, it's not really a game. It's more of an educational, it's edutainment, you know, in that sense of the word. You're given it, you choose what kind of math problem you want and the difficulty, and you solve math problems. I can understand that appeal for parents. Be like, all right, if you want to play video games, play Donkey Kong Jr. Math, go to the calculate, and do some of those problems. That, I feel, is the best pro I can give this game, other than the walking sound effect. Like, I could definitely see where they were going with the calculate mode, but the controls are just so off when playing it. Again, I love math. I'm a huge math nerd, but it frustrates me when I'm trying to do multiplication and you have to hit like up and down to move Donkey Kong Jr. up and down vines to choose a number, and then you move over a vine to lock it in, but you can hit B in order to go backwards, I think it is. If you mess up one number, you can keep going, and then when you're done with it, if the answer's wrong, you're not really penalized. You just have to start the problem over.
Yeah.
It's just the controls are, as you said, very clunky. It's a slow pace, which very annoying as well. Like, it takes 5 minutes, it feels like, to do one equation.
But you could do it in your head in like
Right.
way less than that. And so you're like, oh god, here we go.
Yeah.
Like I was about ready to take out a piece of paper and start doing them just to get the numbers in advance. You
Hey,
know?
I mean, you have plenty. Yeah, for real. And I think too, having to collect the symbols at the bottom was super annoying
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I,
And
I
it's
was
funny
just,
because
why?
the manual puts it that they try to put a competitive spin on it, where it says, "Oh yeah,
I thought I caught wind of that.
grab the plus sign if your brother needs it, because then he can't grab it and he has to use something else." It's like a math battle. It's like, oh, he needs to add 9, but he's getting really close to the plus. I need to go grab the plus before he can, so he has to do ×2 and keep subtracting, because that'll get him.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah.
It it's just a clunky game. Like mode A and mode B, I can't even say it's really math because
Yes,
like what
the
I
the,
tend to do, go ahead.
the whole point of playing these games on Nintendo Entertainment System to get up get out of the way, get away from all the stuff. And then you pop in this, you're like, I just got home. Like, what? I don't want to play this. I want to play Super Mario Bros. I want to play Excite Bike. I don't know.
So
This could have been its own like part of its own series on its own system and had nothing to do with Nintendo at all.
here's the thing. I've played edutainment games on the NES growing up. Like there was
I did not.
a Sesame Street game that my mom had rented once for my brother who was like 5 or 6. And it was actually not terrible. There's another one that's like Mickey's what was it called? Mickey's Journey in like Safari Land or something like that, where you're collecting letters and trying to, I think, build words. It's been a very long time since I played it, obviously. But I remember there being actual educational games on the system that were good.
Yeah,
So
Mickey's Adventure in Numberland.
that might be the one. I think the one I had was with letters, but same difference. Those games had solid gameplay, if I recall correctly. Again, it's been over 30 some years since I played it, but I remember them actually being good. So the possibility is there to have a good educational game. Unfortunately, Donkey Kong Jr. Math is just too slow. It's too cumbersome. It's just not fun to play.
I would agree.
Well, we'll hit these edutainment games at some point,
At some
more
point,
so than this one.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting? The ones that are you could put down as edutainment, there's more on the non-black box than there was from directly from Nintendo. So again, I think there may have been developers that worked on these things that at least had a better idea that they need something more than just education when they're playing these things.
yeah. And as I said, like I can understand the calculate mode. I feel like if kids are going to be playing this game for knowledge, for a practice of homework and stuff like that, they're going to be doing calculate mode. Mode A and mode B, there's really no reason to play those. I can't even imagine that being fun with someone sitting next to you because it's just so
Nope.
slow. You're just gunning for a number. That's all you're doing. And to actually it's very easy to accidentally grab the wrong number too.
Yeah,
It is.
that was my other
So-
complaint too. I was gonna get to that. Yeah. It's so bad.
So our fourth party member here, Dan, he's unfortunately unable to join us tonight, but he did send us what he thinks of Donkey Kong Jr., and I am going to read it because it's kind of funny.
Oh, here we go.
The 3 game modes, they all feel pretty similar, but they all feel like the same boring math homework with a Donkey Kong twist, minus the banana breaks. The game's controls are easy, and the graphics are decent, but the fun factor is seriously lacking. It is about as high as a math test on a Monday morning. It's basically a math quiz dressed up as a game. Donkey Kong himself probably wished he was tossing barrels instead. But in all seriousness, while it's not the worst game ever, there's not much reason to keep playing once you've seen it all. It's one of those games you try for a few minutes out of curiosity, but then wonder why you didn't just stick to a regular math textbook. To me, that sums it up
That's
perfectly.
Yeah.
well said.
That's a good way to just
Well
end
said.
this discussion on that game right there. Good job,
I
Dan.
do have one note that I do want to share that I wrote down in my notebook for this game. I never want to touch this game again.
Same.
Yeah, I don't even think I wouldn't even want to hold on to it either. No.
No.
I think it's very clear where this is
I think what I was going to say,
gonna
I think we know
go.
where it's going, and I don't even
It's
think we
gonna
have to
actually
say.
give Wayne's Donkey Kong Jr. a leg up on something right now.
Right.
Isn't it great though? Donkey Kong
Bottom
Jr.
of the list.
There's 2 Donkey Kong Jr. titles at the bottom.
Bottom of the list.
Although
it hurts. It
Yeah.
hurts, but
I don't necessarily
frustrations.
agree with Donkey Kong Jr. being at the 7th spot, but it's funny that both of those titles are at all the way at the bottom.
Funny, because Dan told me that he wanted to vote Donkey Kong Jr. Math in front of Donkey Kong Jr. just to irritate me. That I would have vetoed. That I would not have let happen.
Well, luckily the majority says bottom of the barrel.
It's unfortunate. Like, you never want to say a game is bad, but in some cases, a game is just bad. And as he said, it's not a terrible game. There's definitely worse games out there. None of the games that we've played so far are really bad. It's just some of them are more fun than others. We will eventually get to bad games. I don't know if there's any black box games I can think of that are legitimately bad. But once we get out of that shell, I can think of a couple games I am very well dreading of talking about. So yeah, any parting words on Donkey Kong Jr. Math, or can we move on and never speak of this again other than in references to ranks?
Yep. See you later, Donkey Kong Jr. Math, and I hope I never have to see you or play you again.
I 100% agree. All right, moving on to the final game, which is what I like to call the main event of the episode, Duck Hunt.
Yeah,
a game that, like last episode, we talked about Excite Bike and all of our cherished memories. Before that, Super Mario Brothers. Now Duck Hunt. It was released in April 21st of 1984. For some reason, I also wrote down that it was released in July of 1985 on DOS, of all things. And the multi-cart with Super Mario Brothers was released in 1988.
That's what I had.
Yeah, that's what I had too.
I think most people had that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's
with it.
Yeah,
that's
I had the zapper that
had.
came with it and the dual
me
game
too.
cartridge.
I didn't get it till a little bit later because I had to get the zapper separately. But I also did own this game, and I fondly remembered playing this with my brothers. Anyone want to describe Duck Hunt? Because I feel like I'm always the one that describes the games.
I mean, yeah, it's basically just what it is. You're hunting ducks with your doggo. That game,
Damn dog.
if you got it with the system, if you didn't, either way, you needed what was known as the light zapper. One of the interesting facts about that is when you would trigger the light zapper, the screen would flash, but that was a way for the system to detect if you were within the vicinity of said duck or ducks. So there was 3 modes actually in this game where 1 duck would fly, 2 ducks would fly, and then mode C was clay shooting. Side note, that's my favorite mode.
That one was underrated, but it's good to hear that I'm not the only one who really
Yeah.
into clay shooting.
I just think you didn't have things like this except for the arcade, but now that it was in the home, it really brought another dimension to gameplay. Not something many games had. Obviously Rob ruined the other episode because he was so slow and he thought he was hip and he could stay with it. But if I had if I had Rob around and I had the zapper, I would have taken Rob out with it if I could, because the zapper was a superior interface device for the NES at that time.
Yeah,
and if you didn't
really
those
was a
ducks, man,
fantastic.
that dog would he would chuckle at you, and you might want to shoot the dog sometimes, which wasn't really a nice thing to do. He didn't do anything, but he would make you pretty mad when you missed the ducks.
There are always the rumors on the playground of how to shoot the dog and things like that.
Did anybody happen to keep a tab on their high score?
I could probably tell you.
I didn't play to get to high score.
I know I got
to
get mode or
it again.
I think I got to like round 8 on mode B. Mode A, I kind of stopped playing for a little while because, let's be honest, if you don't have the zapper, it kind of loses some of its charm.
Yeah.
I
I
made
played
it.
a lot more of the clay shooting, so I got to 7 there.
I made it 12 rounds on one duck.
Nice.
Yeah,
I made it.
those red ducks, they suck.
Oh, those. Yeah, that's the thing. This game actually gets very difficult very fast.
Yeah, but the only thing was that what was cool is, I mean, I hung in there long enough to see, obviously that there started to be increases in the scores
Yes.
because, correct me if I'm wrong, but rounds 1 through 5, you have a black duck for 500, a blue duck for 1,000, a red duck for 1,500. Rounds 6 through 10, the black ducks go to 800. The blue ducks go to 1,600. The red ducks go to 2,400. Anything from 11 rounds and up, black ducks are worth 1,000. Blue is worth 2, and red is worth 3. So
I didn't know they kept increasing. I noticed that they were increasing. I just wasn't sure why. That does make sense. But yeah, I made it to round 8 in mode B with 96,700 points. So I'm assuming you
Jeez.
destroyed me.
156,200.
Yeah.
This was also one of the first few games that I noticed had a really realistic audio for the
Yes.
dog when he jumped
Yeah.
over the hedge. That wasn't terribly too common to be that accurate.
Right.
Yeah, it was actually almost digital in a sense. If it
Yeah,
actually wasn't. It was really clear.
Yes, that's what I thought was very interesting about it.
Yeah, it was one of those fun games. Basically, you had 3 shots. You had either 1 or 2 ducks or 2 clay pigeons. I think it's called clay pigeons or clay, whatever they're
I
called.
think they are clay pigeons. I think.
Okay.
In the clay shooting one, yeah. That's what
Okay.
it
I'm
is.
not sure of the exact terminology, but
Mhm.
you have 3 shots, so you're allowed essentially 1 miss. If you use all your shots, essentially kind of lose that round as if you don't hit anything. You have to hit at least 6 either ducks or clay discs in order to move to the next round. If you don't hit 6 or more, you lose and you're back to the start. So it's a very simple gameplay, but it's another one of those games that's just so addictive. It really is. I remember growing up, me and my brothers huddled around the TV. We'd pass the zapper back and forth between each other, taking turns to see who can get more ducks and higher score. The good old days where score was everything.
Yeah.
Anybody as a kid try and put the zapper really close to try and get it every time?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 And it's still even then, like sometimes it just didn't work. It's like, why?
Yep.
I'm pointing red at stupid duck. I didn't hear about it. I've never tried it myself, but apparently there's a light trick where you hold the zapper right to a light bulb and it's supposed to be like 100% hit rate.
I never heard that.
There's something about it. I remember reading it too. So
Okay.
did you guys like the ducks more than the clay shooting?
I did.
I personally like the clay more.
That's all I really typically played.
I thought it was a little bit more challenging.
It felt
But-
realistic, is why I
Yeah,
liked it.
because there's a nice like depth of field with it, where the clay pigeons will shoot out from the screen and they get smaller as they go further down the track. It's actually kind of
Yeah.
cool because you have this nice like mountainside in the background. It's like really peaceful.
I
I don't
think
know,
mountain
And you don't
ducks
have a
are
dog
pretty good
laughing at
too.
you if you miss.
Yeah,
Right.
that-
But I mean, I personally preferred the ducks more. But
I mean, the ducks are classic. Let's be real here. Like you can't not play duck hunt and shoot the ducks. There's a reason why it's called duck hunt and not clay
Yeah.
hunt. You know?
yeah, but they're both cool. I mean, they're both good modes. But
Yeah.
It's another one of the games you could almost make this like an aim trainer for us PC gamers.
Right.
Because it's pretty hard, especially in the clay shooting when they get really small, and then when the
Yeah.
birds get really fast.
yeah,
That's the thing. Once you get to like round 6 or so, those, especially I think the red birds, they're zooming around the
They
screen.
rip.
yeah,
And like if you don't, the thing is, you're on like a timeout too. So if you can't hit the birds within like a second or two, they flare off the screen and that
Yeah,
dog's laughing at
they're
you.
just gone.
Yeah, and there's no timer on the screen either, so you just gotta be really quick with your reaction speed, with your reflexes.
Yep.
There is no hesitating. You have to just look and shoot. Now, I just want to throw this out there though. It's kind of hard to play nowadays without having a CRT monitor
Mhm.
and a zapper.
Yeah.
Yes.
Obviously, in
Absolutely.
order for us to play some of these games, we have to use the dreaded E word. It does lose a little bit of its charm. It's still difficult. Like at first you start playing, it's like, this isn't that bad. But once you get to like round 6 or so, it's like, oh my god, this is actually much harder.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the zapper, it's that much more difficult. But that's where the fun lies. So unfortunately, like I feel this is one of those games where, although it's really, really, really good, it unfortunately doesn't hold up today as well because we don't have the peripherals for the most part
Mhm.
in order to play it the way it was intended, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Agreed.
Now, I will say that I've read something that I guess some company out there is trying to come up with a light gun that works on flat screen TVs. And if that ever comes to fruition, I am 100% buying that.
Dude, 8-Bit Do needs to do it.
Right.
I mean, they have legit controllers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that project is still going on. I'd have to research it. But that would be one of the absolute coolest things in the world to play games like this. Wild Gunman, was it Hogan's Alley, light gun games on a flat screen TV? Like that would be so much fun. Like I would love to play Duck Hunt again with an actual zapper.
Mhm.
I would
Absolutely.
love it.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that we can't really do that as easily. Yeah, you have like third-party peripherals and stuff, like the Wii and all that, but I don't know. It's just not the same because
It's
I feel
not.
like the Wii really lacks accuracy. I mean, let's face it, Zapper wasn't the most accurate thing in the world either,
No.
but there was just something to holding that plastic gun
Mhm.
to the screen and shooting ducks.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that's a memory I will always have for the NES.
I stand corrected. I've made it to level 10 while we've been talking in clay shooting.
I don't remember how far I got into clay shooting. I'd have to
But
look.
and like that's the thing as I'm looking at the list because I really didn't give it much thought as to where I would put this game. It's like I'm looking at it now and I'm going, we have as it stands without adding this game to the list currently, but obviously it will be in a moment. We have 2 games on here already, one of which requires the same peripheral to play Duck Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I'm like, for me, I'm going Duck Hunt has a certain nostalgia feel for me personally, like Super Mario does. But if I look at it like from today's standpoint, I played 12 rounds, but like you said, we don't have the thing that made it what it was to us back then. So it's like, where do you really place this game? It's not a bad game by any means, but
The fact that it uses similar controls as like Wild Gunman,
yeah, it has to probably go.
Okay, this I'll say it can't be below Gyromite. There's no way.
No, I was
I
was thinking of myself. I would put it right below Wrecking Crew.
So before I give my 2 cents on it, I also got the round 10 on clay shooting. I just looked at my video that I did of it.
Nice.
About 191,000 points. So, yeah,
I'm at round 11
so much fun.
right now.
Oh, so Jason beat you. That's funny.
Well, my score is only 138,
Oh!
but I'm on round 11. So it depends how you want to say who got to where, right?
I thought you had the same score.
I'm on 12 now, but
higher score.
Anyway.
All right, so Jerry, you're saying between Gyromite and Wrecking Crew, so essentially number 5.
Yeah, and the only reason that I would put Wrecking Crew above this game is because of really you don't need a peripheral to play Wrecking Crew, and Wrecking Crew has a little more to it still than Duck Hunt has.
Yeah. Jason, what are you thinking? I don't know why I like going last with these because I always get outvoted anyway. But
for me, Jerry, you said something about the peripheral not being needed for Wrecking Crew.
Yeah.
I can't see that giving that as a disadvantage for me. I actually would put this above pinball. This would be number
Wow.
3 for
Ooh.
me.
Okay.
Because I can't tell you how many times how much I played this because, and maybe this is because, and I wasn't a PC gamer at the time, but now I've been for a while, and majority of the things I play are first-person shooters. But back then, that wasn't even a thing. Uh, Other than I think I may have been introduced to Wolfenstein 3D at the time. So, but for me, I don't know. It has a little bit more for me because of the peripheral, because I used to go to arcades a lot and play a lot of these types of games. So to have it at home, it was a big deal for me. So I definitely I would be putting this up in position 3, which is between Excite Bike and Pinball. Throw a monkey wrench in there, huh?
Wow.
Me personally, I'd put it between Pinball and Wrecking Crew. I would still rather play this over Wrecking Crew, but and that's the thing. Like, we're getting into the points where we have a lot of good games on the list, and then we have some, I'd say, mediocre games. I'd say Duck Hunt is a good game. I consider Wrecking Crew a mediocre game. So personally, I'd put it above Wrecking Crew and below Pinball. I don't even care that we need a peripheral to play it. That's just my personal argument here. I don't care that you need a zapper because I fondly remember playing this game. I remember how fun it was to play it back in the day with everything you needed on a old, what was it, like 15-inch TV or so, huddled around that thing, probably screwing up our eyes. But you have that zapper, and it's so good. But I feel like if I had pinball back in the day, I would have spent more time playing pinball.
I would have spent more time playing pinball too, and even like we said, I had the dual cartridge, and I usually played more Super Mario than Duck Hunt.
I think everybody did. I mean, you have Mario and then you have Duck Hunt. It's like, all right, which one's more fun? I mean, there's no argument there. I'm sure there are people out there that think that Duck Hunt is better than Mario because I know there are some Mario haters out there. But I'm not one of them. I know when I did eventually have the Mario Brothers Duck Hunt cartridge, I 100% played more Mario. I probably played more Excite Bike than Duck Hunt. I wish I had pinball though. That's
I know that's killing me that I didn't have pinball. I feel like I really missed out on something with not having that.
I'm getting a gut feeling that I'd be willing to secede a little here and agree with between Pinball and Wrecking Crew, which I believe is what you said, Wayne.
yeah.
I could secede a little and
Yeah,
agree that that's a good
you guys
position.
are making me rethink my stance on it now too, because I mean I am looking at it, unfortunately, in some degree, about how we have to play it now for the sake of this podcast, but I'm still thinking about it, and I'm just like, do I bump it above Wrecking Crew or not?
And I know you really liked Wrecking Crew.
I did.
So I'm sure it hurts
did.
you.
Well, I did because I don't know why. I mean, I never played it before this, and I just really enjoyed that game for some reason. Like the whole strategic part of that game is what makes that game interesting to me. Where like Duck Hunt does not. There's a strategy. Like, there's
Kind of a strategy. Do you go for the black duck or do you go for the red one? Do you go for the slower one and get the guaranteed kill, or do you get the red one that's about ready to fly off the screen? You know,
That's a very similar concept to Wild Gunman. Who do you go for? Who's got the quickest draw or not?
I mean, like if you're looking at, because you mentioned Wild Gunman, if you look in between Duck Hunt and Wild Gunman, there's no comparison. Duck Hunt blows it away.
Mm-hmm.
Like Wild Gunman, yeah, you're just looking at a guy on the screen trying to beat him.
It's just timing in there, whereas Duck Hunt is timing, accuracy, all the things.
Yeah.
And when you get sick of shooting ducks, you break out the clay shooting, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still really fun.
Sounds like this is going to get ranked number 4.
Jerry, what do you think about that?
Because so here's my thing, right?
Change my mind. Change my mind.
No,
Yeah,
see,
change my
no,
mind.
because I'm struggling with this now as I hear you guys talking about it, because I'm looking at this from, I didn't own Wrecking Crew, but I did own Duck Hunt, and I played a lot of that game as a kid. But I'm also trying to be, I don't want to be like, oh, I own this game and I thought it was the greatest game because I owned it, so I'll put it at the top of the list, like, kind of thing. I don't, like, if I find something now that appeals to me more, despite that maybe I have childhood memories attached to the other game, I just can't put this game above Wrecking Crew. I can't. I'm sitting here I'm trying to think of ways to, like, convince myself that this needs to go above it, and I can't do it. I don't know. Like I said, I'll sit here and go, there was a strategy to Wrecking Crew. It drew me in. I can't apologize for it. So, in my opinion, Duck Hunt underneath Wrecking Crew, under Wrecking Crew and above Gyromite.
I can understand where you're going with this. I really can.
It's a struggle if you can't tell over here.
I mean,
Mm.
Jason, what are you thinking? You still thinking?
I mean, I think it should go. It can go between Pinball and Wrecking Crew because, while in one essence the game could be considered much more shallow than Wrecking Crew, and it is. Again, there is a flair of those arcade shooters that is brought home with you,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't get that in those other games. Now, that doesn't mean that it just has this innate ability to crush everything going forward, because we're going to hit some games that are just outlandishly deep for a Nintendo and NES. But where we stand today, uh it's almost kind of like we're restarting, or at least for me, restarting getting into playing NES again, and I'm getting these games to play. And so right now, it would be, I'd be picking it above Wrecking Crew. So I'm still on position 4, rank
I'm on
4.
the fence, but I think I agree with you. I mean, I can see both sides of the argument. Wrecking Crew definitely has more to it, but I think overall, as just a game that you pop into the system and play, I think Duck Hunt is just the better designed game. If Wrecking Crew had a better way of defending yourself, I think I'd say that would beat Duck Hunt. But I think as it stands, I think Duck Hunt has got to go above Wrecking Crew.
All right.
So yeah, that's where we're going with it.
I'm not going to be Wayne and be all pouty about it. I'm not going to lose sleep
mean,
over it either.
Wow. So yeah, Duck Hunt, number 4 on the list between Pinball and Wrecking Crew. Again, neither of them are bad games. I just think that Duck Hunt is a great game. Wrecking Crew is a good or mediocre game. Again, I don't think we really have any truly bad games on the list yet. I'm sure
They're coming.
Excuse me. I'm sure they're coming.
Yeah.
It may not be till we get out of the black box games, but I also have not played all of the black box games. In fact, I already picked episode 4's games, and I can say that I've never played at least one of them, but I haven't played any of them in depth. So I will say that. But yeah, this was a really interesting episode because we got into some deep discussions on where these games are ranking.
Yeah, I think it's gonna get way more interesting as we have more games. It may take a little more time for that, but we'll get more seasoned and all that.
Yeah, and we all grew up in that era, so I think that kind of helps that we can look back and be like, all right, is it just rose-tinted glasses, or is it actually a good game? Because I know there's some games that I've played in the past, and I pick them up now. It's like, okay, what did I see back then?
Exactly.
So, yeah, thank you all so very much for watching, listening, or both. Thank you to my co-hosts, Jason and Jerry. Also, thanks to Dan for his input on Donkey Kong Jr. Math. If you guys have any comments on where we rank them, what your thoughts on these games are, please send us a line. Episode 4 is going to, and again, I use a random number generator. English is hard to pick these games. we will be doing Ice Climber, Popeye, and Clue Clue Land.
I've played none of those before.
I've played none of them.
I've played Ice Climber, I've played Clue Clue Land, and I don't particularly like either of them. I've never played Popeye, though. So this is going to be a very interesting episode for me personally, mostly because we're going to start getting into some games that I'm not going to want to play very much. But we'll get there with the next episode, I promise. Again, everyone, thank you so very much.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
And I thank you guys again for taking some time and talking about some old games with me.
It's been
Most
fun.
definitely.
Any parting words?
Yeah, no more Donkey Kong Jr. math.
Amen.
Video games is for fun, not education. It is to escape education in reality.
All right. Again, thank you all so very much. Until next time, happy fragging.